if there is an issue or problem, we understand that some clubs are small, some churches are small. They may not have the available resources to draw from. But if all possible, we want to try to draw from outside that normal pool of Pathfinders and pastoral staff. It's something we're really going to push for to try to help these kids in that mentoring.
Question.
Yep.
Who finds those mentors?
That's going to be the job of the lead TLT lead mentor in the club.
And the TLT, I'm going to interject here. When Pastor Sherilyn and I sat down and we talked about mentors and introducing mentors into the TLT program, this is a part that the TLT program in Oregon uses, and it is very, very successful. And as she was talking to me about this and integrating this in the Potomac Conference, I got very excited because all I kept thinking about was the way myself, my generation was raised in church. We didn't have a TLT program, but I worked with the elders in my church, and I meant elders as in anybody that was not 16 years old and over the age of 30. To me, that was an old person in church. So I got to work with the church treasurer and the deaconesses and the deacons in church and the Sabbath school teachers and the people that put on the MV programs and AY programs. I got very excited. We have a generation where they're not working with our church members. We have church members that have been in positions, and I don't know if anybody can relate, that have been in positions for 10 years. There was an incident that she had recalled to me where there was a church treasurer that had been doing it for like over 30 years. The person keeled over and died, and nobody knew how to run the church treasury. Nobody knew the system, the accounting, nothing. And that's ridiculous when we have such smart young people today. So if we take the concept of our generation and we reintroduce it to our young people today through this program, which is what mentoring is by definition, sharing our wisdom with these young people and allowing them to work with them and have our elders in the church say, listen, you have something that these kids need. And all we're asking is for you to take some time and work with them. Not all the time, you don't have to be there all the time, but these 6 tracks lead the church. If you take these 6 tracks, break them up, they are the functioning frame of our church. And all we're asking the church board, if you were to discuss this with your church board, is for you guys to help us with our young people. That's all they're asking. That's all we're asking. And Pastor Sherilyn is writing up a letter to our pastors to invite them to our training day. Because if they realize what the TLT program is with Pathfinders, they're going to be like, oh, it benefits us to be with these guys because they're going to help me in my church. And this is why we don't want this, because I see a lot of, and I was telling James, exclusivity and cliques in a lot of our clubs. And I'm honestly sick and tired of the cliques that I see in some of our clubs and in some of our youth. I'm tired of that. I didn't see that growing up, and I don't want to see it anymore. And within our own churches, we need to get our youth with our church members together, and this is how we're going to do it. And like James says, we will work with the small group churches because we understand they're not big, There's one particular group that I know that is not a big church, and I already told them, listen, honey, we're going to work with you guys because you guys are small. We're talking about other people that have an abundance of knowledge. That's where I have a problem, where you're not pulling from your resources. This is where this is going to come into play. And if you need us to come in and talk to your church board,
I wouldn't speak for Jenny, but if that's necessary and you want us to, let us know.
I have no problem with talking to church board. Sat on church board for over 25 years. No problem talking to people. Spanish, English, doesn't matter. I can do that for you. They don't want me to, but I can do that for you. This is where I can't even express how excited I am about this mentoring project, and so is Pastor Sherilyn, and it's gonna work, and we're going to get some resistance, and I know it's something new, but I really believe this is the way to go. I'm here because I had mentors. I had mentors that did not, I don't want to do that. You finished? Okay, good. This is what you're going to do. And, you know, I learned how to shop for a Pathfinder Club because they dropped us off at the grocery store with a bag of money and, you know, one of the payphones. When you're done shopping, you let us know. We had to go back to Pathmark 5 times. If you know New York, there's Pathmark. They dropped us off. The director told us, call us when you're done. Payphone right outside Pathmark. 5 times we had to go back because we didn't know how to buy a paper toilet for our club. We went back. We didn't know how much rice to buy, so we had to go back. And until we got it right. That is how I learned how to buy for a Pathfinder Club. That is how we learned. I don't want our TLTs to have it that rough, but, you know, that's what mentoring is. It's not using our teens as slaves and cheap labor and leaving them watching kids like there's free babysitting, because that's not what a TLT is. A TLT is a young person that needs mentoring, that needs guidance, that needs our wisdom, that needs our love and time. And these people here have so much responsibility. And I want James to talk about this one right here, because there's an exception to this rule right here.
There is.
A quick question.
Yes,
That
ma'am.
when you say pastors or staff, it's Pathfinder staff, we mean, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, if they're not part of the direct pastoral staff in a church, again, church secretary, church treasurer.
Oh, those are great people.
Those are
great
wonderful.
mentors.
We want to use
okay,
those.
just to make sure.
Yeah, that is Pathfinder staff typically. That's good.
I just wanted to bring something in because I talked to you about I had spoken to the treasurer at my church, and the response that I had gotten wasn't resistance as so much it was, okay, so what do you want me to do? And I think they want to know what their responsibilities are. I think
That's what training day on September
exactly
14th is.
what I had proposed to him, because you know we talked about how he operates. He doesn't do his treasurer work when it's the most convenient time for a TLT to be there. But he mentioned doing a presentation. He mentioned coming and talking to them.
And that's certainly another way to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah, if that's the extent of his mentorship, he's definitely willing to do something like that. As far as being able to follow them and you know tell them this and do that and this, he's not really interested in doing something like that.
Which I think you've tried, and you've tried your best to get that person to do it.
You have
Yeah.
assistant treasurers.
Yeah, and that's what I talked to him about.
But what I don't want though is, I know you're talking about him coming in and putting this presentation in September, and they never see anything else about it
right.
through the rest
That's
of the year.
leaving our TLT
Again, that's
with
not helping
no
this
friendship,
process.
no
Right.
bonding,
You know,
no bridging.
so if that's all he
anything.
wants to do, again, your choice. My preference, I would not have him as a mentor.
Right.
You know,
right.
maybe have him come in as, okay, this is what financial, you know, maybe do it for a class versus just the TLTs. Do it for Voyagers or guides or whoever it may
Right.
be.
Right.
But yeah, that to me is not the fit that we want for this.
Okay.
Where does Shield the Vulnerable fit into this?
Good. That was the
Good.
second thing I was going to say. First thing,
sorry.
let me just address that. Parent of a TLT. Nesco also talking about if you have a parent who is a staff member who has a particular, this guy's background is finance. He'd be perfect for administrative or the financial clerical part of this track. This is okay if we've exhausted other avenues of trying to get a mentor. That's okay, but it can't be their own child. It has to be, you know, somebody else in the club. Again, we've had some issues with that, and you know, sometimes
That's just a
people
hard
just
line.
sign off on things. But yeah, no, they cannot do their own children.
Nope.
But again, this is bottom of that list. I want you to try to exhaust any other avenues that you have through your church before we hit this avenue. And again, if you need help, you need to come and talk to the church board or the pastoral staff, whatever it may be, contact us. So, Shield the Vulnerable. Anybody who works with our kids has to go through that Shield the Vulnerable program. So even if these mentors, even if they're only meeting them once a month at the church under your guidance,
Shield the
they
Vulnerable.
still have to go through that. Which, if you're here, everyone's done it. You know, it takes about an hour or so online. It's not necessarily that difficult, but again, it does have to be done.
You did it fast if you did it in an hour.
Well,
You did it
6 days to
fast.
get over it.
mine wasn't as big because working for a conference, I only had to do the Virginia one. I didn't have to do the
do it
Maryland
together.
one.
No,
So,
I only had to do the Maryland one too, and it took me 2 hours.
There was an
It's a
exception.
little thing.
There was an exception for, you know, I like to back you up a little bit. I mean, you know, back it up a little bit, because if we had individuals who were coming in for the day and doing something with the kids and we were there present, then that was something that was permissible. So you're saying if as a mentor,
But I'm taking a straight hard stance on that.
okay,
If I have a mentor coming in and working with Jesse, that mentor hopefully will be a mentor the way I had,
okay,
and that mentor is going to want a relationship with me.
right,
And that mentor might want to invite me over for potluck with their family,
okay.
or something to
So they
that
have
effect.
to, yeah,
And that's going to be a mentor that she might have for the rest of her life. Invite her to her wedding or college graduation or anything like that. I'm not going to be able to be there with that mentor all the time. And as a director, I would want to make sure that I have done my due diligence.
right,
And I rather play it safe, so I say shield the vulnerable across the board.
yeah,
There's a
okay,
difference between a guest instructor and a
Yeah.
mentor.
right.
Yes,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
understand what you're saying. I wanted the clarification
Absolutely.
on that.
And with
And
the
the
mentor,
mentor-
you're going to have phone conversations that you may not be able to be
Exactly.
there for.
Right,
Exactly.
Facebook connections.
Email.
Well
So,
said.
yeah.
Thank you.
So
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
so
a lot more involved than again just
let's
a
do our
big
due
teacher
diligence
coming in.